नाट्य सर्वोपैगतिप्रदसर्वभागवत पुराणशील भागवत प्रभो कविध्वान्तोदितादित्य श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवशंकराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्री कृष्णाय नमोस्तु मे मधैक बंधो मत्संगी मद्गुरो महाधना निस्तारकमद्भाग्यमदानंद नमोस्तुते असाधु साधुतादाय नतिनीचोच्चताकर आनमुंशिकदाचिन्मा प्रेम हृत्कण्ठयोस्फुर ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Okay, let's resume from the purport. The descriptions in verses 9 to 11 of the Lord in his transcendental, eternal form are understood to be descriptions from the authoritative Vedic world. These descriptions are certainly not the imagination of Gauranga. The decorations of the Lord are beyond material conception, as admitted even by impostulous like Shankaracharya. Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has nothing to do with the material creation. The varieties of the transcendental Lord, his body, his form, his dress, his instructions, words are not manufactured by the material energy, but are all confirmed in the Vedic literature. By performance of the yoga, Karzo Muni actually saw the Supreme Lord as he is. There was no point in seeing an imagined form of God after practicing yoga for 10,000 years. The perfection of yoga, therefore, does not terminate in voidness or imperfection. On the contrary, the perfection of yoga is attained when one actually sees the personality of God in his eternal form. The process of Krishna consciousness is to deliver the form of Krishna directly. The form of Krishna is described in the authoritative Vedic literature Brahma Samhita. His abode is made of Chintamani stone, and the Lord plays there as a cowherd boy and is served by many thousands of gopis. These descriptions are authoritative, and a Krishna conscious person takes them directly, acts on them, preaches them, and practices devotional service as enjoined in the authoritative scriptures. जातहर्षो पतन्मूर्ध्ना क्षितो लब्धं मनोरथः गीर्भिस्त्वभ्यगृणात् प्रीति स्वभावात्मा कृताञ्जलि. When Kardo Muni actually realized the Supreme Personality of Godhead in person, he was greatly satisfied because his transcendental desire was fulfilled. He fell on the ground with his head bowed to offer obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord. His heart, naturally full of love of God, with folded hands, he satisfied the Lord with prayers. प्रीति स्वभावात्मा प्रीतिरेव स्वभाव स्वतः सिद्ध धर्म यस्य सः. His heart was naturally filled with love of God. Prītireva Swabhava. He was filled with affection for the Supreme Lord. It was the natural quality of Gauranga. The realization of the personal form of the Lord is the highest perfection stage of yoga. In the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where yoga practice is described, this realization of the personal form of the Lord is called the perfection of yoga. After practicing the 16 postures and other regulated principles of the system, one finally reaches the stage of samadhi, absorption in the Supreme. In the samadhi stage, one can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his partial form as Paramatma, or as he is. Samadhi is described in authoritative yoga scriptures, such as the Patanjali Sutras, to be a transcendental pleasure. This is that Chitti Shakti that Prabhupada refers to in his purport to 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The yoga system described in the books of Patanjali is authoritative, and the modern so-called yogis who have manufactured their own ways, not consulting the authorities, are simply ludicrous. The Patanjali yoga system is called Ashtanga yoga. Sometimes impersonalists pollute the Patanjali yoga system because they are monists. Patanjali describes that the soul is transcendently pleased when he meets the super soul and sees him. If the existence of the super soul and the individual is admitted, then the impersonalist theory of monism is nullified. Therefore, some impersonalists and void philosophers twist the Patanjali system in their own way and pollute the whole yoga process. Okay, just 1 minute. According to Patanjali, when one becomes free from all material desire, he attains his real transcendental situation And realization of that stage is called spiritual power. In material activities, a person engages in the modes of material nature. The aspirations of such people are to be religious, to be economically enriched, to be able to gratify the senses, and at last to become one with the Supreme. According to the monists, when a yogi becomes one with the Supreme and loses his individual existence, he attains a higher stage called Kaivalya. But actually, the stage of realization of the personality of Godhead is Kaivalya. The oneness of understanding that the Supreme Lord is fully spiritual and that in full spiritual realization one can understand what he is. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Kaivalya, or in the language of Patanjali, realization of spiritual power. His proposal is that when one is free from material desires and fixed in spiritual realization of the self and the super self, that is called Chit Shakti. In full spiritual realization, there is a perception of spiritual happiness, and that happiness is described in Bhagavad Gita as a supreme happiness, which is beyond the material senses. Trance is described to be of two kinds, sampragyata and asampragyata, or mental speculation and self-realization. In samadhi or asampragyata, one can realize by his spiritual senses the spiritual form of the Lord. That is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. This we already saw in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. According to Patanjali, when one is fixed in constant realization of the supreme form of the Lord, one has attained the perfectional stage as attained by Karma. Unless one attains the stage of perfection, beyond the perfection of the preliminaries of the yoga system, there is no ultimate realization. There are 8 perfections in the Ashtanga yoga system. One who has attained them can become lighter than the lightest and greater than the greatest, and can achieve whatever he likes. But even achieving such material success in yoga is not the perfection or the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is described here. Karma Muni saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead in its eternal form. Devotional service begins with the relationship of the individual soul and the Supreme Soul, or Krishna and Krishna's devotees. And when one attains it, there's no question of falling down. If through the yoga system one wants to attain the stage of seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, but is attracted instead to attainment of some material power, then he is detoured from proceeding further. So he may have the desire for Bhagavad Sakshatkar, but instead he wants some yoga siddhi. Then he is detoured. He is not allowed to proceed spiritually. Material enjoyment, as encouraged by bogus yogis, has nothing to do with this transcendental realization of spiritual happiness. The real devotees of Bhakti Yoga accept only the material necessities of life, absolutely needed to maintain the body and soul together. They refrain completely from all exaggerated material sense gratification. They are prepared to undergo all kinds of tribulation. They can, provided they can make progress in the realization of the personality of Godhead. The Shiruvacha. This itself is interesting. That Kardamuni is referred to as a Rishi. Rishiruvacha. Jishtam patadya khila satvarashe samsiddhyamakshnos tava darshananna yad darshanam janmabhir sadbhirasha sate yogino ruti yoga. The great sage Kardama said, O Supreme Worshipful Lord, my power of sight is now fulfilled. Having attained the greatest perfection of the sight of you, who are the reservoir of all existences. Through many successive births of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see your transcendental form. Aho madbhagyasya prabhu karunyasya cha paramakashtha. Or this is the greatest limit or the greatest stage of the exhibition of my good fortune and the mercy of my master. Yat achirena eva darshanam labdhavan asmi. That so quickly I have attained his darshan. He had spent 10% of his life in the Yuga Dharma. Iti Bata iti vismaya. The word bata indicates that he was astonished. Tava darshana naha asmakam akshnoho samsadhyam mama akshini. Adya eva samyak siddhe safale jate. My eyes have become perfect because of seeing you. Itah purvamapi siddhe akshini api anakshini eveti astam iti bhava. The implication is even though I had two eyes, but still they were as good as having no eyes. Tava kidrishasya, and how are you? Akila Satwanam. Akila Satwanam. Ati Nikrishta Satwanam. Iti artha. You are the reservoir of all existences. That means you are the shelter even for the most insignificant creatures. Rashe. Rashi Rupasya. Iti artha. Sattva Rashe. Yes. Naitat Anurupam Maya Sadhanam Chakritam. I have not executed the appropriate sadhana with which to attain what I have attained. Because in the second half of the verse, Yad Darshanam Janmabhir Idya Sadbhir Ashasate Yogino Rudhi Yoga. Through many successive births of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see your transcendental form. Hey Idya, O worshipful Lord, worshipable Lord, Sadbhihi, Uttarottara Shreshtaihi Bahubhihi Abhi Janmabhihi Rudhahi Yoga. When one attains elevated advancement in yoga with several through several successive good births. That means each successive birth is superior to the previous ones. Yaihi tepi ashasate eva natu labhante. So, but even through many successive, increasingly better births of deep meditation, advanced yogis, they simply aspire to see your transcendental form. They don't even attain, they don't get to see your transcendental form. But now you have come right in front of me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described here as a reservoir of all goodness and all pleasure. Unless one is situated in the mode of goodness, there is no real pleasure. And therefore, when one's body, mind, and activities are situated in the service of the Lord, one is on the highest perfection stage of goodness. Raja Muni says, Your Lordship is the reservoir of all that can be understood by the nomenclature of goodness. And by our experiencing you face to face, the perfection of sight has now been attained. These statements are the pure devotional situation. For a devotee, the perfection of the senses is to engage in the service of the Lord. The sense of sight, when engaged in seeing the beauty of the Lord, is perfected. The power to hear, when engaged in hearing the glories of the Lord, is perfected. The power to taste, when one enjoys by eating prasada, is perfected. When all the senses engage in relationship with the personality of Godhead, one's perfection is technically called Bhakti-vaibhava, which entails detaching the senses from material intelligence and attaching them to the service of the Lord. When one is freed from all designated conditional life and fully engages in the service of the Lord, one service is called Bhakti Yoga. Narada Muni admits that seeing the Lord personally in Bhakti Yoga is a perfection of sight. The exalted perfection of seeing the Lord is not exaggerated by Narada Muni. He gives evidence that those who are actually elevated in yoga aspire in life after life to see this form of the personality of Godhead. And we also learn from several scriptural references provided by Madhvacharya and others. By default, it takes several lifetimes. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur himself in his Bhagavad Gita commentary also gives evidence. By default, it takes several lifetimes to move from Karma Yoga to Jnana Yoga to Ashtanga Yoga to Bhakti Yoga. That is why it is said, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. He was not a fictitious yogi. Those who are actually on the advanced path aspire only to see the eternal form of the Lord. This is another point that Prabhupada takes it up. 14. Ye mayayate hatamedhasastvat padarvindam bhavasantu potam upasate kama lavayate sham rasisha kama niryepi yesyu. Your lotus feet are the true vessel to take one across the ocean of mundane nations. Only persons deprived of their intelligence by the spell of the deluding energy will worship those feet with a view to attain the trivial and momentary pleasures of the senses, which even persons rotting in hell cannot get. However, O my Lord, you are so kind that you bestow mercy even upon them. Hanta hanta evam kripa samudramaphi tvam sakamataya bhajanti iti aho maudhyam lokana. Alas, alas, even though you're an ocean of compassion, people worship you with materialistic desires. Oh, the foolishness of these people. With this in mind, he speaks the current verse. Ye tava mayaya hatabuddhaya bhavanti. Those whose intelligence has been destroyed by Maya, Teva, na anye, only them, not others. Kama lavaya, kama leshameva prapta upasate. They worship you just to attain a little bit of sense enjoyment. Tvam tu tesham kaman bahuneva akamitan api rasi dadasi. But you give them a lot of sense enjoyment, even what they have not desired. अन्यथा भक्ति सुख अन्नभिज्ञाहते तद भक्तिमपि त्यक्तुम न एव विलंबेरन इति भाव. The implication is otherwise, because they don't experience the happiness due to bhakti, they will not delay to even give up devotion service to you. Bhaktir atyage tu काले तेपि निष्कामा भवेयुः एव इति आशयेन ददासि. You grant them their desires with the hope that by not giving up bhakti, over time they will also become nishkama, free from material desires. Natu tad dhaneva tatparyam. It is not your intention to give them what they are asking for just for the sake of giving it to them. Yataha te kalatra putra kutumba aishwarya adyaha kamaha niraye narakyamapi yono syuhu. Because the different enjoyments, the different objects of enjoyment, such as a wife, a son, family, opulences, and so on, they can even be attained in hell. That means in a hellish species of life. A hellish species of life means an animal life. Because after you go to hell, you attain an animal body. So the animal species and so on, they are considered to be hellish species of life. किंतु स्वर्गं नरकयोः कर्मजन्यत्व नियमनात् त्वद्दत्तानां तु तादृशानाम् अपि भोगानां कर्मजन्यत्व अभावात् बन्धकत्व अभावेन न एव वस्तुतः. However, there are regulations by which one attains swarga or naraka simply due to one's karmic reactions. But the enjoyments that are that are similar to that and which are given by you, they are not generated due to pious activities. They are not reactions to pious activities. So they are not actually binding upon the souls. नैव वस्तुतः स्वर्गनरकशब्दव्यपदेशः तदपि तत्तुल्यत्वात् तथोक्तिरिति ज्ञेयः. In reality, the enjoyments that the Lord gives, even though they are referred to as Swarga, Naraka, and so on, it is simply because they're equal to the sort of happiness that is found in Swarga, Naraka, the sort of happiness that is enjoyed. That should be understood. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter, there are two kinds of devotees. Those who desire material pleasures and those who desire nothing but service to the Lord. Material pleasures can be attained even by hogs and dogs, whose condition of life is hellish. The hog also eats, sleeps, enjoys sex life to the full extent, and it is also very satisfied with such hellish enjoyment of material existence. Modern yogis advise that because one has senses, one must enjoy to the fullest extent like cats and dogs. Yet one can go on and practice yoga. This is condemned here by Gauranga. He says that such material pleasures are available for cats and dogs in a hellish condition. The Lord is so kind that if so-called yogis are satisfied by hellish pleasure, He can give them facilities to attain all the material pleasures they desire. But they cannot attain the perfection stage attained by Gauranga Muni. hellish and demoniac persons do not actually know what is the ultimate attainment and perfection. And therefore, they think that sense gratification is the highest goal of life. They advise that one can satisfy the senses and at the same time, by reciting some mantra and by some practice, can cheaply aspire for perfection. Such persons are described here as hatamedhasaha, which means those whose brains are spoiled. They aspire for material enjoyment by perfection of yoga or meditation. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated by the Lord that the intelligence of those who worship the demigods has been spoiled. Similarly, here too, it is stated by Kadam Muni that one who aspires after material enjoyment by practice of yoga has spoiled his brain substance and is fool number one. Actually, the intelligent practitioner of yoga should aspire for nothing else but to cross over the ocean of nations by worshipping the personality of Godhead and to see the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord is so kind, however, that even today, persons whose brain substance is spoiled are given the benediction to become cats, dogs, or hogs and enjoy material happiness from sex life and sense gratification. The Lord confirms this benediction in Bhagavad Gita. Whatever a person aspires to receive from me, I offer him as he desires. Yes.
Prabhu, so is the case like this that either a devotee will aspire for material pleasure or he will aspire for Lord's service? There can be mixture of both also.
Mixture means he is desiring material pleasure, that's all.
Okay. No, like material pleasure is desiring, but I also want to serve the Lord.
That's okay. But from the higher perspective, they'll say he's contaminated, that's all.
Okay. So the sort of material enjoyment which is condemned here, this is different from what demigods have in the heavenly planets.
No, same only.
Okay.
Well, what is the confusion here?
No, because cats and dogs and lower animal species are mentioned.
They experiences sense enjoyment, whether they are cats and dogs or insects or demigods or human beings.
Okay, Prabhu.
15. तथा स चाहम परिमूढ़काम समानशीलाम गृह्मेददेनु उपनीवान्मूलमशेषमूलम दुराशयः काम दुधांध्रिपस्य. Therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like disposition, do not look to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life. To satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything, for you are like a desired tree. Yo ham sakaman nindami, sachaham sakameshu mukhya, ityaha tatheti. I am criticizing the materialistic worshippers of your lordship, but I myself am the chief of those materialistic worshippers of your lordship. He conveys that in the current verse. Grihamedha, Grihamedha, Grihashramah, Tatra, Dhenum, Trivarga Dhreem Bharyam, Parinetum. I desire a bharya, a wife, who will be like a cow who gives the milk of Dharmartha Kama in household life. Dhenupadena swasya nirbuddhitvat vrishatva muktam. He's specifically using this expression, dhenum, a cow, to refer to the wife that he desires, because he considers himself to be a bull, because he considers himself to be unintelligent. Therefore, he considers himself to be a bull who desires a cow. Kimcha, moreover, Kameshu api madhye aham durashaya, dur abhiprayatvad, iti nirbhutir. Amongst even those who have material desires, my desire is low class, and this is a sign that I am unintelligent. यतः परिवोढु काम एव काम दुहांग्रि पश्य तव मूलम अंघ्रिम उपेयुवान. Because I have approached your lotus feet just to get married. अशेषा सर्वे एव पदार्था मूले यस्य तत् स्वर्गापवर्गयोर पुंसाम इत्यादि. But your lotus feet is Ashesha Moolam, the source of everything. All kinds of objects of desire are found at your lotus feet, as it will be noted in 10.81.19 and so on. In spite of his condemning persons who approached the Lord for material advantages, Karza Muni expressed his material inability and desire before the Lord by saying, although I know that nothing material should be asked from you, I nevertheless desire to marry a girl of like disposition. The phrase like disposition is very significant. Formerly, boys and girls of similar dispositions were married. The similar natures of the boy and girl were united in order to make them happy. Not more than 25 years ago, and perhaps it is still current, parents in India used to consult the horoscope of the boy and girl to see whether there would be factual union in their psychological conditions. These considerations are very important. Nowadays, marriage takes place without such consultation, and therefore, soon after the marriage, there is divorce and separation. Formerly, husband and wife used to live together peacefully throughout their whole lives. But nowadays, it is a very difficult task. Karzamani wanted to have a wife of like disposition because a wife is necessary to assist in spiritual and material advancement. It is said that a wife yields the fulfillment of all desires in religion, economic development, and sense gratification. If one has a nice wife, he is to be considered a most fortunate man. In astrology, a man is considered fortunate uh, who has great wealth, very good sons, or a very good wife. Of these three, one who has a very good wife is considered the most fortunate. Before marrying, one should select a wife of like disposition and not be enamored by the so-called beauty or other attractive features for self-gratification. In the Bhagavata verse 10, it is said that in the Kali Yuga, marriage will be based on the consideration of sex life. As soon as there is deficiency in sex life, the question of divorce will arise. Kardamuni could have asked this benediction from Uma, or it is recommended in the scriptures that if anyone wants a good wife, he should worship Uma. But he preferred to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead because it is recommended in the Bhagavatam that everyone, whether he is full of desires, has no desire, or desires liberation, should worship the Supreme Lord. Of these three classes of men, one tries to be happy by fulfillment of material desires, another wants to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme, and another, the perfect man, is a devotee. He does not want anything in return from the personality of God. He only wants to render transcendental loving service. In any case, everyone should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for he will fulfill everyone's desire. The advantage of worshipping the Supreme Person is that even if one has desires for material enjoyment, if he worships Krishna, he will gradually become a pure devotee and have no more material hankering. Yes.
Prabhu, once you were saying that we explain things or we present things as per the level of audience. So newcomers should not be told this point that if you are even if you are approaching Krishna, your material desire will eventually evaporate. Like we can just encourage that even if you have material desires, you worship Krishna.
Why? It comes in Bhagavad Gita also. You worship Krishna.
But
Prabhupada explains in his purport that if you worship the Supreme Lord, then your desires will go away. And since
but
they don't want the desires to go away, therefore they prefer to worship the demigods. Prabhupada makes this point in his Gita commentary.
because we experience or we meet such people here also everywhere.
They are
So,
everywhere.
so they'll not become scared that if I'll worship Krishna, everything will go away.
And then why are you so paranoid about people who don't want to buy diamonds?
Yeah. Yes, bro.
To whatever extent we are clear, then about the principles of pure devotional service. And even if we are weak, we still hanker to progress towards pure devotional service to Krishna alone. It is difficult, of course, it is difficult. But everything in life is difficult only. But the whole world is happily going on. People are all now working very hard for livelihood, for reputation, for progress in career, for going to some other country. There's so many things, and they're working hard only. So if all of that hard work is considered to be quite normal, why can't hard work in progress in Krishna consciousness also be accepted as normal?
Yes,
Okay,
Prabhu.
16. प्रजापतेस्ते वचसाधीशतन्त्या लोकः किलायं कामः तोनुबद्धः अहं च लोकान् गतो वहामि बलिं च शुक्ला निमिषाय तुभ्यम्. O my Lord, you are the master and leader of all living entities. Under your direction, all conditioned souls, as if bound by a rope, are constantly engaged in satisfying their desires. Following them, O embodiment of religion, I also bear oblations for you, who are eternal time. ननु एवं चेदस्ति विवेकः तर्हि निष्काम एव कथं न भजसि. So if you have such a discriminate knowledge, then why don't you worship me without material desires? Anticipating that, he speaks the current verse. प्रजापतेः ब्रह्मणः तव त्वदीयस्य प्रजासृज इति वचसा तन्त्र्या लोकः मरीच्यादिः. That is Lord Brahma, who is the Prajapati who belongs to you. He has given an instruction, now produce offspring, population. So that is like a rope which is bound the souls like Marichi and others. Sahayagya prajasashva purovacha prajapati anena prasavishyadhvam eshavostishta kamadhukiti hitopteshcha. This is also noted in 3.10 of Bhagavad Gita. तोपि तद् आज्ञा अनुसारेण एव भक्ति इति न तस्य अपि दोषः इति ते पदध्वनिः. And Brahma also gives his instruction in line with your instruction. So Brahma is also not at fault. Therefore, he is saying, Te Prajapates Te, which can mean that the master and leader of all living entities who belongs to you, he has given this instruction. We are bound by his instruction. No, kama hataha lokaha anubaddha bhavatanama. All right. Those who have been attacked by lust, the world which is attacked by lust, it is bound up. Tvam tu akama hataha. But you are not attacked by lust. Katham sanakadivattan na atikramasi. So why not like the Sanakadi, like the four Kumaras? Why don't you just transgress that instruction? Tatraha. Anticipating this, he speaks the second half of the verse. Aham chalokanugata. Tat anugami buddhi. But my intelligence follows their intelligence, the intelligence of this world. Natu naradadi sadrishi bhavitum samarthaha ityartha. I'm not capable of becoming like Narada, the four Kumaras, and so on. अतः तन्त्र्यावधः वृषैव बलिं वहामि. So like a bull that is tied with a rope and which carries burdens. So like that, I'm also carrying. Karmamayim tvadagyam anuvarte. And I carry out your instructions in the form of karma, material duties. Tadartham ekam bharyam ichhami. For that sake, I desire a wife. Chakarat, and he also said the word cha here, balim cha. Cha can mean etc. And चकारात् त्वद्भक्तिं च करोमि आयत्यां त्वत्प्राप्त्यर्थं विभावः. And I also engage in devotional service to you. The idea is that I'm engaged also in devotional service to you, and I do have a desire to attain you also. That is the implication. Hey Shukla, O Lord Shukla. This particular form of the Lord who appeared is called Shukla. Animishaya, Kala Rupam Tvam Sadhyatam Ityartha. You are existing as eternal time, and I'm doing all this to make you happy. In the Katha Upanishad, it is stated that the Supreme Lord is the leader of all living entities. He is their sustainer and the awarder of all their necessities and desires. No living entity is independent or dependent on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Vedic instruction is that one should enjoy life under the direction of the Supreme Leader, the personality of Godhead. Vedic literatures like Ishopanishad direct that since everything belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not encroach upon another's property, but should enjoy one's individual allotment. The best program for every living entity is to take direction from the Supreme Lord and enjoy material or spiritual life. A question may be raised since Karuna Muni was advanced in spiritual life. Why then did he not ask the Lord for liberation? Why did he want to enjoy material life in spite of his personally seeing and experiencing the Supreme Lord? The answer is that not everyone is competent to be liberated from material bondage. It is therefore everyone's duty to enjoy according to his present position, but under the direction of the Lord or the Vedas. This is Madhvacharya's formula also. Guru Bhukshvacha Karma Nijam Niyatam Haripada Vinamra Dhiya Satatam. Carry out your prescribed duty and enjoy the benefits that come out of that. Guru Bhukshvacha Karma Nijam Niyatam. The duties which are specifically ordained for you. But Haripada Vinamra Dhiya Satatam. But always with your mind, your intelligence, submissively fixed on the lotus feet of Lord Hari. This is a basic Vedic formula. The Vedas are considered to be the direct words of the Lord. The Lord gives us the opportunity to enjoy material life as we want, and at the same time, He gives directions for the modes and processes of abiding by the Vedas, so that gradually one may be elevated to liberation from material bondage. The conditioned souls who have come to the material world to fulfill their desires to lord it over material nature are bound by the laws of nature. The best course is to abide by the Vedic rules that will help one to be gradually elevated to liberation. Karna Muni addresses the Lord as Shukla. What is it? Shukla. Shukla. Typing mistake. Which means the leader of religion. Wait. Shukla. You must be getting it from some other source. One who is pious should follow the rules of religion, for such rules are prescribed by the Lord Himself. No one can manufacture or concoct a religion. Religion refers to the injunctions or laws of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that religion means to surrender unto Him. Therefore, one should follow the Vedic regulations and surrender unto the Supreme Lord, because that is the ultimate goal of perfection in human life. One should live a life of piety, follow the religious rules and regulations, marry, and live peacefully for elevation to the higher status of spiritual realization. One should not live a life of impiety, disregarding the religious rules and regulations, and without getting married, simply just hop here and there and engage in various casual relationships with others, and simply degrade himself. 17. Lokamsha lokanu gatan pashumscha हित्वा शतास्ते चरणादपत्रम परस्परम त्वद गुणवाद सीधु पीयूष निर्यापित देह धर्म. Our persons who have given up stereotyped only affairs and the beastly followers of these affairs, and who have taken shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet by drinking the intoxicating nectar of your qualities and activities in discussions with one another, can be freed from the primary necessities of the material body. Anu lokaha pitradayah tad agyanuvartinah. पुत्र भ्रात्रादयश्च लोकतः धर्मतः च यशस्विनः सुखिनः च दृश्यन्ते किम इति तान् सकामत्वान् निन्दसि. पित्रादीन् दुःखयतां निष्कामभक्तानां निष्परिग्रहाणां किं सुखं किं वा यशः यतः तान् अभिन not अभिनिन्दसि अभिनन्दसि. Abhinandasi, right? Abhinandasi. So then he anticipates that the Lord would be thinking, the world following their fathers, carrying out their instructions, like sons, brothers, and so on, they carry out the instructions of their superiors, their fathers, their elder brothers, and so on. And they engage in various pious activities, they become very famous, they are happy. This is what we see. Why is it that because they have material desires, you criticize them? On the other hand, if you look at my devotees who don't have material desires, they bring about distress for such fathers, brothers, sons, and so on. They are not in family life. What happiness do they have? What reputation do they have that you are appreciating them? Then the sage speaks two verses, the current verse and the next verse. Pashunapi tesham pashutvat tyage doshah na asti iti bhava. Those who follow these affairs are beastly. Beastly. They're animals. So therefore, to give up the activities which are followed by the beasts, it's not wrong. That is the implication. Yadva lokan nyaya mimamsadi shastra abhigyan tad anugatan tad upadeshavakyeshu vishvasataha. Shastra anabhigyan. Why is it Shastra anabhigyan? Wait. Shastra anabhigyan. Okay. Tesham ubhayesham api pashutvam bhakti-rahitya. Okay. Now he says there are two types of animals here. The ones who have studied the scriptures, scriptural texts such as Nyaya, Mimamsa, and so on, and who follow those respective disciplines by believing in the instructions that are taught, or those who do not know any of these scriptures, those who are not educated in all of these scriptural texts. Both of them are animals because they do not have devotion towards you. Charanameva atapatram ashita iti nir atapatraha pashavaha tu jajvalyanta eva jajvalyantaha eva iti bhavaha. These ones who have given up all these beastly activities have taken shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet. They are protected by the umbrella of your lotus feet. But these animals who are not under the umbrella of your lotus feet, they're simply scorched in the heat. Tesham sukham aparamapyaha. And the happiness of Those who give up these beastly activities and who are engaged in your service, uh, that is beyond comparison. And he states that here. Tvad gunanam vadaha kathanam eva samsara vismarakatva sidhu mrityu durikaranat atiswadatvacha piyusham. The discussions of your transcendental attributes, it causes one to forget the cycle of birth and rebirth. And therefore, it is described as intoxicating. And because those discussions keep one very far away from death, and because they're extremely relishable, they're considered piyusha, nectar. तेनैव तत्पानेनैव निर्यापिताः देहधर्माः बाल्य पौगण्ड आदयः क्षुत्पिपास आदयः वा यैः ते भवन्ति इति क्रिययान्वयः. And by drinking this intoxicating nectar, they have extinguished the primary necessities of the body, which passes through childhood, youth, and so on. And these primary necessities of the body refer to thirst, hunger, thirst, and so on. After describing the necessity of married life, Muni asserts that marriage and other social affairs are stereotyped regulations for persons who are addicted to material sense enjoyment. The principles of animal life, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, are actually necessities of the body. But those who engage in transcendental Krishna consciousness, giving up the stereotyped activities of this material world, are free from social convention. Conditioned souls are under the spell of material energy or eternal time, past, present, and future. But as soon as one engages in Krishna consciousness, it transcends the limits of past and present and becomes situated in the eternal activities of the soul. One has to act in terms of the Vedic injunctions in order to enjoy material life. But those who have taken to the devotion service of the Lord are not afraid of the regulations of this material world. Such devotees do not care for the conventions of material activities. They boldly take to that shelter, which is like an umbrella against the sun of repeated birth and death. Constant transmigration of the soul from one body to another is the cause of suffering in material existence. This conditional life in material existence is called samsara. One may perform good work and take his birth in a very nice material condition. But the process under which birth and take place is like a terrible fire. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his prayer to the spiritual master has described this. Samsara, the repetition of birth and death, is compared to a forest fire. The forest fire takes place automatically without anyone's endeavor by the friction of dried wood, and no fire department or sympathetic person can extinguish it. The raging forest fire can be extinguished only when there is a constant downpour of water from a cloud. The cloud is compared to the mercy of the spiritual master. By the grace of the spiritual master, the cloud of the mercy of the personality of Godhead is brought in. And then only when the rains of Krishna consciousness fall can the fire of material existence be extinguished. This is also explained here. In order to find freedom from the stereotyped conditional life of material existence, one has to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, not in the manner in which the impersonalists indulge, but in devotional service, chanting, and hearing of the activities of the Lord. Only then can one be freed from the actions and reactions of material existence. It is recommended here that one should give up the conditional life of this material world and the association of so-called civilized human beings who are simply following in a polished way the same stereotyped principles of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. Chanting and hearing of the glories of the Lord is described here as Tvad Gunavadhu, Tvad Gunavadha Sidhu. Only by drinking the nectar of chanting and hearing the pastimes of the Lord can one forget the intoxication of material existence. Yes.
Prabhu, I'm sorry, I missed in the beginning the anticipated question which you explained when you were mentioning about brothers and sisters and what happiness they are experiencing. Something like this.
Okay. Okay. You can get it later on.
Okay.
What did he say? He said, well, there are people who follow the Vedic scriptures and those who don't follow the Vedic scriptures. No. What did he say? He said that all these people, the whole world which is following religious principles and becoming reputed, they seem to be happy. But those who are Nishkama Bhaktas without families, they are much more happy. So the anticipated question was, why do you criticize those people and appreciate these people? Therefore, text 17 and text 18 also is spoken for that reason. 18. Nate jarakshtabhramirayuresha त्रयोदशारं त्रिशतं षष्टिपर्व षण्णेन्यनन्तच्छदीयतृणाभिस्करालस्रोतो जगदाच्छिद्य धावत्. Your wheel, which has three naves, rotates about the axis of the imperishable Brahman. It has 13 spokes, 360 joints, 6 rims, and numberless leaves carved upon it. Though its revolution cut short the lifespan of the entire creation, this wheel of tremendous velocity cannot touch the lifespan of the devotees of the Lord. Taiva kalam jayanti nanye itya. They are the only ones who conquer time, the destructive force of time, not the others. That is pointed out in the current verse. Yat trinabhi kalachakram tat jagat achidya samhritya dhavadapi esham त्वद् भक्तानाम आयुः achidya dhavan na bhavati iti anvaya. Though the wheel of time, it covers over the entire universe while it is moving about, still it does not pierce the lives of such devotees of your lordships. Even talking about those who do not take shelter of the Lord for material desires and who have given up, of course, sinful activities, and apart from that, who have even given up family life. Bhutam ajaram brahma tasmin aksharupe brahmihi भ्रमति वक्तव्ये अति भ्रमणशीलत्वा विचारेण भ्रमित्यपेन निर्देशः अधिमासेन त्रयोदश मासा अरा यस्य 13 spokes. This takes into account the 13th month of the Purushottama month, the Adhika Masa. Shata Shabde Vibhakte Alugashaha Shat Vritavah Nemayah Yasya. 360 joints obviously refers to the days. 6 rims refer to the 6 seasons. Anantaha Kshanallavadayah Chadaha Patrani Patra Akara Dhara Santi Yasya. Numberless leaves, they refer to moments, kshanas, lavas. These are all different durations of time, and so on. Trini Chaturmasyani Nabhaya Adharabhutani Valayani Asya. It has 3 naves, which refer to 3 groups of 4 months. Karasrotaha Tivra Vegam. It is a wheel of tremendous velocity, ferocious velocity. Later, Visheshanairev Samvatsaraatmakam Chakram Uktamiti Drashtavya. You should understand that this refers to a year. The time factor cannot affect the span of life of the devotee. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that the little execution of devotional service saves one from the greatest danger. The greatest danger is transmigration of the soul from one body to another. Only devotional service to the Lord can stop this process. It is stated in the Vedic literatures, Harim Vinanam Mritim Taranti. Without the mercy of the Lord, one cannot stop the cycle of birth and death. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that only by understanding the transcendental nature of the Lord and his activities, his appearance and disappearance, can one stop the cycle of death and go back to him. The time factor is divided into many fractions of moments, hours, months, years, periods, seasons, etc. All the divisions in this verse are determined according to the astronomical calculations of Vedic literature. There are 6 seasons called Ritus. There is a period of 4 months called Chaturmasya. 3 periods of 4 months complete 1 year. According to Vedic astronomical calculations, there are 13 months. The 13th month is called Athimasa or Malamasa and is added every third year. The time factor, however, cannot touch the lifespan of the devotees. In other words, it is stated that when the sun rises and sets, it takes away the life of all living entities, but it cannot take away the life of those who are engaged in devotional service. I think this comes in first canto. Time is compared here to a big wheel which has 360 joints, 6 rims in the shape of seasons, and numberless leaves in the shape of moments. It rotates on the eternal existence, Brahman. 19. एकस्वयं सञ्जगतस्तृक्षया द्वितीयात्मन्नधियोगमायया सृजस्यतः पासि पुनर्ग्रसिष्यस्ते यथोर्णनाभिर्भगवन् स्वशक्तिभिः. My dear Lord, you alone create the universes. O personality of Godhead, desiring to create these universes, you create them, maintain them, and again wind them up by your own energies, which are under the control of your second energy called Yogamaya. Just as a spider creates a cobweb by its own energy and again winds it up. नन्वेवं निष्काम भक्तानेव धन्यान् ब्रूषे अथ निष्कामो भवितुं न शक्नोषि तर्हि अन्यस्मादेव देवतान्तरात् शीघ्र फलप्रदात् कथं स्वकामं न साधयसि. So now he anticipates that the Lord would tell him, you are saying that my devotees who do not have material desires, they are the fortunate ones. But then, and then you cannot become nishkama, free from material desire. Then why don't you don't fulfill your material desire by going to some other deity who can quickly grant you the results, can quickly grant you success. तत्र त्वां विना जगत् यस्मिन् अन्यं कम् अपि न पश्यामि इत्याह. And in response to that, the sage considers, I don't see anyone other than you in this world. स्वयं एक एव सन् अपि इच्छाया द्वितीयत्व अभावा अद्वितीयया सृक्षया. Even though you're only one, you don't have a second desire, you have only one desire to create. Yadva, alternate meaning. Tava sasriksha, brahmadi sasriksha eva na anya anurodhavati ityartha. Brahmas and others' desires for creation are simply your desire for creation. Nobody else can approve that Atmani swasmin adhigatah praptah ikshana yoga yogaha yasya staya mayaya srishtyadikam karoshi. You glance, you unite with Maya through a glance. You just glance at her. And then you engage in these activities of creation, maintenance, destruction, yadva, or else Atmani adhikrita ya yogamaya ya chichaktya hetuna ya svikritaha. What is this? Santwadya shakteya. What is this? Wait. आत्मन्यधिकृतया योगमायया चिच्चक्त्या हेतुना या स्वीकृताः सत्त्वाद्या शक्तयः ताभिः अधः विश्वं स्वव्यतिरिक्तसाधनान् अपेक्षत्वे दृष्टान्त. You utilize your yoga maya, spiritual potency, and through that you activate, you accept the potencies of sattva-guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna. So this world functions, and you don't depend on any instrument other than yourself to in order to activate this world. And therefore, this example of a spider is given here. Ataha tad bhinnasya devata antarasya abhava. And therefore, since there is no one separate, there's no deity separate from you, sakamena api maya tvammeva sevyase iti bhava. Therefore, a materialistic person like me is serving you alone. This is the implication. Here in this verse, two important words nullify the impersonalist theory that everything is God. Here, Kazama says, "O personality of Godhead, you are alone, but you have various energies." The example of the spider is very significant also. The spider is an individual living entity, and by its energy, it creates a cobweb and plays on it. And whenever it likes, it winds up the cobweb, thus ending the play. When the cobweb is manufactured by the saliva of the spider does not become impersonal. Similarly, the creation and manifestation of the material or spiritual energy does not render the creator impersonal. Here, the very prayer suggests that God is sentient and can hear the prayers and fulfill the desires of the devotee. Therefore, he is Sachidananda Vigraha, the form of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. 20. Naitad Batadesha Padam Tavepsatam Yan Mayanastamshe Bhutasukshma Anugrahaya Swapi Yahimaya Lasatulasya Bhavan Vilakshitaha. My dear Lord, although it is not your desire, you manifest this creation of gross and subtle elements just for our sensual satisfaction. Let your causeless mercy be upon us, for you have appeared before us in your eternal form, adorned with a splendid wreath, garland of tulasi leaves. Evam chet tarhi mat prasadat तव कलत्र अपत्य भोग ऐश्वर्यानि परम उत्तमानि भवन्तु इति वरम ददानं भगवन्तं स्वप्रणाममाह. So then he offers his respectful obeisance unto the Supreme Lord, who is about to grant him the benediction that, all right, by my mercy, may you have supremely excellent wife, children, enjoyments, opulences. Naitaditidvabhyam, in two verses, text 20 and 21. He Adhisha, O Overlord, O Supreme Lord, Etat Padam Mad Kamyamanam Vastu Tava Swabhaktamatra Hitakarinaha Datum Ipsitam Na Bhavati. What I am asking for, you actually do not desire to give what I am asking you, because you desire nothing but the welfare of your devotee. न राते रोगिणोपथ्यम वांछतोपि भिषक्तमः इति त्वदुक्तेः अवसीयते इति भाव. The implication is, you have yourself stated, this is a reference to Bhagavatam 6.9.50. A doctor does not give a patient foodstuffs that are bad for his health, even if he asks the doctor for it. Khatam tarhi dadami. So then why would I have to give you what you're asking? Atraha. He says, Yad Yasmat, because Naha Asmabhyam Bhuta Sukshmam Shabdadi Indriya Bhogyam Vishay Sukham Tanushe Dadasi Tat Kalu Mayaya Eva Natu Amayaya Anabhigya Bhaktaha Ayam Anyatha Vimanaskaha Bhavishyati Iti Mad Anurodhena Eva Ityartha. The happiness of sense enjoyment, such as enjoyable sound, touch, enjoyable sense objects such as sound, touch, form, taste, smell, that you give, you are giving it through your Maya potency, or rather, you are giving it deceptively to me, not without a deception, because I am pressuring you, I am requesting you, and therefore you are thinking that this inexperienced devotee of mine will otherwise become dejected. Vasanamayam Vishay Sukham Adhkarane Varateva. What is Varateva? Tadeva Varadanena. Vistarayasi iti tandhatvartah. Okay, that's a grammatical dot again. Nanu evam cheti tarki na dadami iti. So then I should not give you. Tatraha anugrahayaha tu diyamanam etadastu. Out of mercy, uh, may you please give me. Kintu anugrahaya api हंत हंत मया एव दत्तेन वशे सुखवरेण भक्तोऽयम् अन्धे तमसि पातितः तद्दिमम् उद्धरामि इति आयत्यां तत्कृपाप्राप्ति अर्थमपि अस्तु इति अर्थः. You would be thinking, alas, alas, when I give a benediction for sensual happiness, this devotee of mine, I would be causing him to fall into the darkness of I would be calling him to fall into deep darkness. So I need to deliver him from that. So it is to attain your mercy that I am asking this. Tatralinga. On what basis he is inferring all this? Yarki Varadana Samaye Samprati Vilakshitaha Visheshena Svam Drishtaha. At the time of you granting this benediction, you are distinctly visible to me. तर्हि मायया कृपया मनस्पर्श स्मितेक्षणम् इत्युक्ते स्मितद्योतित कृपा कटाक्षेण विशिष्ट एव दृष्टः. I'm seeing you with a smiling, merciful glance. That was already noted earlier. And this is due to your mercy. See, the word Mayaya in the second half of the verse means Kripaya, out of mercy. Maya also means Kripa. तत्रापि लसन्त्या भक्तजनैः परिचर्यायां समर्पितया दृष्टेः परमसुखदया तुलस्या उपलक्षिता चिदानन्दमयी या तनुः तया युक्त इति भक्ति परिचरणीयत्वम् एव तनोः अमायिकत्वे लिङ्गम्. Now, I am confident that you are not deceptive towards me because you are revealing that form of yours which is meant to be the object of service for your devotees, because you are revealing your body with tulasi, which grants supreme happiness to the vision of one who who offers that tulasi in service to you. So when devotees, when they offer you this tulasi, they feel extreme happiness to see tulasi sprinkled over your body. Now this is itself an indication that the Supreme Lord was showing his spiritually blissful form. So from this, the sage understands that the Lord is not deceptive in his granting of benediction here. Amayika tanu darshana pradhanameva kripayam lingam. When the Lord grants his audience while revealing his spiritual form, then it is a characteristic indication that he is merciful to this devotee. Bhagavan ityapi atra patha. It is clearly stated here that the material world is not created by the personal will of the Supreme Lord. It is created by his external energy because the living entities want to enjoy it. This material world is not created for those who do not want to enjoy sense gratification, who constantly remain in transcendental loving service, and who are eternally Krishna conscious. For them, the spiritual world is eternally existing and they enjoy that. Elsewhere in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that for those who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God, this material world is useless. Because this material world is full of danger at every step, it is not meant for the devotees, but for living entities who want to lord it over the material energy at their own risk. Krishna is so kind that he allows the sense-enjoying living entities a separate world created by him to enjoy as they like. Yet at the same time, he appears in his personal form. The Lord unwillingly creates this material world, but he descends in his personal form or sends one of his reliable sons or a servant or a reliable author like Yakudev to give instruction. He himself also instructs in his speeches on Bhagavad Gita. This propaganda work goes on side by side with the creation to convince misguided living entities who are rotting in this material world to come back to him and surrender to him. Therefore, the last instruction of Bhagavad Gita is give up all your manufactured engagements in the material world and just surrender unto me. I shall protect you from all sinful reactions. It should be understood that all of this is also uh, understood by the sage. Yes.
So, we can use this entire purport to convince a person about that actually this entire material, like those opposite party who say that Jiva never fall down, this goes against their argument.
No, but they don't. I think you're not aware of exactly how they argue. They know Prabhupada has said so many things like this. They know that very well. But they say that this is not the actual fact.
Yeah, I heard that, bro. They were saying that just for the sake of explaining, they are saying like this.
So there are several reasons why they give. It's a very detailed discussion. So if you give this kind of quotation, it's just like going to a Mayavadi and giving evidence from Upanishads. See, here there is evidence that this is different. The living entity is different from God. The world is different from God, and all that. They know all these things. They have an explanation on why those statements are there. So you have to point out why that explanation is not correct. Okay, 20. तन्त्वानुभूत्यो परतक्रियार्थं स्वमायया वर्तितलोकतन्त्रं नमाम्यभीष्टं नमनीयपादः सरोजमल्पी यसिकामवर्षम्. I continuously offer my respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet, of which it is worthy to take shelter, because you shower all benedictions on the insignificant. To give all living entities detachment from fruitive activity by realizing you have expanded these material worlds by your own energy. Nattu etat tvai asambhavam. And this is not impossible for you. With this in mind, he speaks the current verse. Tam tvam अनुभूत्या उपरतः क्रियार्थः कर्मफलभोगः यस्मात् तं यदा कृपया स्वमाधुर्य अनुभवं दास्यसि तदा एव भोग इच्छा स्वयमेव अपयास्यति इति भावः. By experiencing you, the desire to engage in these material activities and attain the results, the benefits of these material duties will cease. In other words, when you grant the experience of the sweetness of your lordship, that means when you make me experience the sweetness of your name, form, qualities, pastimes, and so on, only at that time the desire for my enjoyment will go away by itself. This is the implication. So Maya, स्वीय माया शक्ति प्रेरणया आवर्तितं जनितं लोकानां देवतरी आदीनां तंत्रं कर्म फल सुख दुख संबंधी परिच्छेदः येन तत्. It is by the force of your own Maya potency that this world consisting of demigods, animals, and so on are distinct with their respective happinesses and unhappinesses that are the results of their respective activities. यावद् अविद्यां प्रेरयसि तावद् भोगे इच्छा भवति एव. As long as you impel avidya to act on them, to that extent, they will have the desire to enjoy. Iti bhava, this is the implication. Tena samprati srishtim vivarधयिषुः अस्मान् काम संवलितान् करोषि इति तथापि विवेकेन कामांस् त्यक्तुं न शक्नुमः इत्याह. Now, you are desirous of increasing the creation, and therefore you have made us filled with passion. So even though I have discriminating knowledge, still I am unable to give up these material desires. Alpiyasi kamavarsham. Alpiyasi. Ati nikrishte api madvidhe jane kaman varshasi iti tathatam. You shower enjoyable, desirable objects upon insignificant people like me, most low class people like me. Everyone, therefore, whether he desires material enjoyment, liberation, or transcendental loving service of the Lord, should engage himself in offering obeisance unto the Supreme Lord. Because the Lord can award everyone his desired benediction. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord affirms, anyone who desires to be a successful enjoyer in this material world is awarded that benediction by the Lord. Anyone who wants to be liberated from the entanglement of this material world is given liberation by the Lord. And anyone who desires to constantly engage in his service in full Krishna consciousness is awarded that benediction by the Lord. For material enjoyment, he has prescribed so many ritualistic sacrificial performances in the Vedas. And thus, people may take advantage of those instructions and enjoy material life in higher planets or in a noble aristocratic family. These processes are mentioned in the Vedas, and one can take advantage of them. It is similar with those who want to be liberated from this material world. Unless one is disgusted with the enjoyment of this material world, he cannot aspire for liberation. Liberation is for one who is disgusted with material enjoyment. Vedanta Sutra says, therefore, those who have given up the attempt to be happy in this material world can inquire about the absolute truth. For those who want to know the absolute truth, the Vedanta Sutra is available, as is Srimad Bhagavatam, the actual explanation of Vedanta Sutra. Since Bhagavad Gita is also Vedanta Sutra, meaning the essence of the Vedanta Sutra is already conveyed in Bhagavad Gita in a preliminary fashion. By understanding Srimad Bhagavatam, Vedanta Sutra, or Bhagavad Gita, one can obtain real knowledge. When one obtains real knowledge, he becomes theoretically one with the Supreme. And when he actually begins the service of Brahman or Krishna consciousness, he is not only liberated but situated in his spiritual life. Similarly, for those who want to lord it over material nature, there are so many departments of material enjoyment, material knowledge, and material science are available. Sorry, there are so many departments of material enjoyment. Material knowledge and material science are available, and the Lord provides for persons who want to enjoy them. The conclusion is that one should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead for any benediction. The word Kama Varsham is very significant, for it indicates that he satisfies the desires of anyone who approaches him. But one who sincerely loves Krishna and yet wants material enjoyment is in perplexity. Krishna, being very kind toward him, and gives him an opportunity to engage in transcendental loving service of the Lord. And so he gradually forgets the hallucination. 22. Rishiruvacha. Ityam Vyalikam Pranutov Janabhas. Tam Abhabhashe Vachasamritena. Suparna Paksho Pari Rochamana. Prema Smitodvikshana Vibramad. The great sage Maitreya resumed, sincerely extolled in these words. Lord Vishnu, shining very beautifully on the shoulders of Garuda, replied with words as sweet as nectar. His eyebrows moved gracefully as he looked at the sage with a smile full of affection. Yes.
Prabhu, in last purport, last line, when Prabhu is saying that Krishna kindly gives opportunity to engage in his service, and then that devotee forgets the hallucination. So this happens along with the devotee getting the opportunity for material enjoyment.
But that opportunity for material enjoyment is not actually provided by Krishna directly for him.
Like the translation, what is going on is Karta Muni is asking for something material.
That is different. This is not that. This is not that. This portion does not refer to Karta Muni. This is not.
Okay.
This is not regarding Karta Muni.
So if someone is wants both material enjoyment and both serving Krishna, so his material desire will be fulfilled, or what will happen?
It ultimately means what he wants. Ultimately, what does he want based on that?
So this last line will be refers to what kind of devotee?
It refers to one who sincerely loves Krishna. That means he wants to attain love of God without no desire for enjoyment, liberation, and all that.
But it's written to yet wants material enjoyment.
Yeah, that's okay. But ultimately, he wants that now.
Okay, okay, okay. So what is the ultimate desire that matters?
Krishna will naturally see that.
And if ultimately he wants material enjoyment, then how he will fulfill his desire?
Through Maya, he'll fulfill it. Mahamaya.
Okay.
Okay, we'll stop with this. This topic will keep coming again. We will see there's one Hamsaguhya prayers and all that. We will see there also. So there's a reason why he uses words like deceptive benediction and all that. The reason for that. We will come across these things later on also. Okay. Vanshakalpatarubhyasya pasantabhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.